Good evening, comers. One of the most anticipated reads that I had 2 years ago when it was longlisted for the Booker International was Tyll. I got it the wrong way around. What am I like? Tyll by Daniel Kehlmann, which has been deemed a masterpiece by critics. The setting of this novel is the 30 Years' War, which started in 1618 and ended in, come on, you did maths, you could do this, it's 1648. 30 Years' War in a nutshell. The Protestants and the Catholics had a bit of beef. Shenanigans went on for 30 years in Germany. There you go. Do you need to buff up on your historical novels to get the most out of this book? No. I wouldn't deem Tyll as a historical novel at all. Apart from the setting and a few of the key players, such as the Queen and King of Bohemia, there's not much more to give, apart from a few things you might have to look up, but the likelihood is that you have your phone very nearby when you read, so a quick Google, it's not going to do much harm. Otherwise, you can always fall on the knowledge of war novels before with two things you can always guarantee: bloodshed and hunger. That will be enough to pock the sail as you venture into Tyll. This isn't a Books of Jacob, this isn't the Wolf Hall trilogy. You'll be fine, trust me. Having this set in the early 17th century, it might be a little bit bizarre to have Tyll Eulenspiegel, a character from the 13th century German folklore, to turn up into a town. He is a jester, he is a jokester, he is a prankster. And as we are introduced to him within the first chapter of Shoes, which sets itself up as the prologue to what is going to continue on, and before this section, Tyll has a little bit of a laugh, a little bit of a prank invasion, bros. Remember him? Remember him? God, I'm old. What should be light relief for the crowd who are currently experiencing the war, very quickly someone's mum comes in and go, well, if you carry on doing that, you're going to take someone's eye out. And that does happen. But it's a sword. The first scene's very gory, it's very gruesome, it's very bloody, and sets up your interest for the titular character. We then move around non-chronologically, picking up various aspects in Tyll's life, and also where Tyll doesn't appear at all, where he is absent from the story. We spend some time with his father, and don't worry ladies, he's not like other Millers. He can read, which ultimately leads him to be accused of witchcraft because he butchered a... I can't get through this. Because he butchered a Christopher Nolan plot point, the most powerful of squares. I laugh because this is deemed a black comedy and there's nothing funny about it. After Tyll and your interest and a little bit about his father and where Tyll decides that, well, this town and his life isn't what it's meant to be now and he has to venture forth, everything in this book becomes, oh, sehr langweilig. Sehr langweilig. The ability to avoid artillery, the quest for dragon's blood, and even the bit where Tyll decides to become a miner was not enough to save this book. And that's very important because a miner should be something I'm completely over. I'm Welsh, we're short, we were built to go underground. Do you know how many school trips I spent in heritage sites going underneath and looking at coal? They literally sent kids underground to look at a black wall and all of us were like, wow, this is incredible. I come from a town that not even a few miles away rioted because of mines. I absolutely adore mines, and Tyll Eulenspiegel ruined mining for me. Even Salman Rushdie called this book brilliant, but we all know Salman Rushdie can get some things wrong because he wrote The Golden House. We don't talk about The Golden House. We refuse to talk about The Golden House on this channel. We don't talk about it. To expand on a prior point, I think the pitfall of this novel is its non-linear, non-chronological, episodic nature, with each chapter feeling like a short story rather than a cohesive whole. The only thing that ties them together is Tyll, but the only vaguely interesting character, which is Tyll, isn't there for half of it. Apart from the beginning, the only other chapter I was really invested in is the chapter Hunger, which does follow after Klaus's execution, as Tyll, Nell and the donkey leave with Pirim, an entertainer, and how they're going to get their craft and they have to do their craft in order to be fed. This new father figure that Tyll and Nell are following doesn't really show them the rope. He just expects them to tightrope and will ultimately exploit them for his own gains. But this chapter suddenly stops and we are catapulted into the Royal Guards once again, which makes this book all in all feel extremely lackluster. Why have the most entertaining, the most voyeuristic, the most enthralling character be the central figure, be the thing that ties them all together, but ultimately push them out of the margins? Maybe Kehlmann can't walk the tightrope that he has created, and for this I would give it a 3 out of 10. It's not quite historical, it's not that mythical, it's a bit magic realism, but it's mostly boring.